So unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of the name Dehancer. Now, Dehancer is a film emulation plugin that is used by many filmmakers and photographers to basically put their digital footage or their images in the form of how film prints used to look. Even before I started doing film looks, I already knew what Dehancer was and who they were. So it was pretty cool when they reached out to me to give you guys a review / tutorial, and I'm going to showcase today how you can use it in your workflow. So hopping right into DaVinci, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create a node tree. Today, it's not going to be as difficult. We'll probably make this as simple as I possibly can. So today we're going to be working with RE footage. So let's do RE to DWG because we're going to be working in DaVinci Wide Gamut, and then DaVinci Wide Gamut to Rec 709. We're going to name this one Dehancer. We are going to do just exposure, our contrast. Potentially we might mix in some primaries. So first thing we're going to do, shift space to do a color space transform, or you can come over to your effects right over here, and then that's automatically just going to apply it onto the node that you have. So since we're working with RE, this is going to be in Wide Gamut 3, and then this is RE C-Log 3, and then we are going to go to DaVinci Wide Gamut and then DaVinci Intermediate. Coming right back over to this one, same thing, color space transform tool, and then we are going to go from DaVinci Wide Gamut to DaVinci Intermediate, and we are going to do Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4. First thing that we are going to do is we are going to mess around with our exposure, and you can kind of already see that this image looks pretty good so far, just like with a base. I think what I want to do is maybe increase some of the highlights, maybe drop some of the shadows. I don't want to crush it too much. In terms of our gamma, maybe increase that because I know when I add that film print later, it's going to be hard. For the contrast, since we're working in DaVinci Wide Gamut, the pivot is going to be 0.336, and then we'll add just a little bit of filmic contrast right there. In terms of our primaries, I'm actually going to use the HDR wheel. So what am I trying to do? Maybe I'm going to give this more of a neutral tone. I know we're messing around a little bit with the skin tones, but so far I think this is okay. And now let's hop right into Dehancer. So if I come over here, I can just type in Dehancer Pro and add that, and you can instantly see everything that changes. There are going to be many different tools that we can use, such as our film. We can have our film developer, the film compression, the print, the film grain, halation, but I will kind of go through that step by step as we go along. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to disable all the tools, and we're going to start from scratch. Since the source is going from DaVinci Wide Gamut, we are going to change this from Rec 709 to DaVinci Wide Gamut / Intermediate. So the one thing we're going to do is start off with our film. There are multiple different film profiles that we can look at. I think one con to Dehancer so far that I've seen is that there's no way to preview it the same way if we were to go over to the LUTs and look at what was being presented. Unfortunately, they don't have that. If you want to see which one it is, you just kind of have to go click and select them as well. But in this situation, I think I am going to go with the Arrow Color 4, and you have the ability to mess around with those push and pulls of these exposure values, so you can kind of see what is going on here when we increase that exposure or if we decrease or push it away. I'm going to kind of increase it a little bit, and then we are going to go onto our film developer. Now the contrast boost again is going to kind of work in tandem with how we already set the contrast. So if I was to decrease that, you can see exactly what's happening. Same thing, paying attention to our waveforms, and then the same thing if we do increase it, you can kind of see what's going on. But color separation is looking good, and color boost kind of is adding filmic density in terms of saturation. We can kind of see what's going on if we enable and then disable that. Right now I feel like our subject looks a little too orange, so we're actually going to decrease that color boost. Moving on to the film compression, we have impact, white point, our tonal range, and the color density. I feel like actually I might have even misspoken. The color boost kind of works similar to the color boost in Resolve, but I feel like it's much more subtle. So the color density, if we were to increase it, let's see here in terms of impact. Ooh, it's a much smaller change. I really like that. It's not affecting every single element in our image. So that film compression is really, really nice. You can kind of see what's going on in the left side. And then the tonal range, if I was to change that, obviously we'll see what is impacted. It seems like it was more within our highlights. When I increased that, I feel like that also affected our shadows. So that is nice to know, but the impact is very minute. We'll just drop that down. And then the color density, we can also see if we want to increase that or decrease that. Going on to our expanding, black points and white points are pretty straightforward. If we were to enable this node, we can see what is being impacted with our black points, and then the same thing with our white points. But I am going to keep that as is and not move it from there. Going on to our print. Now this is where all the magic happens. everybody is familiar with the Kodak 2383 print film. In this situation, I might actually use Fuji. Let's see. Yeah, because Fuji kind of works a little tandem. You can stay with the 2383 if you absolutely like to, but let's do Fuji. Now we are working with the Fujifilm 3513 print film. If we come over, we can increase that exposure value, or we can even decrease that as well. Same thing with the tonal contrast. In this situation, you can kind of see how her eyes were kind of darkened right from the jump, and even just disabling the node in general, you can kind of see how it was exposed. But we're just going to decrease some of that contrast and then also drop some of that exposure. In terms of the color head, we can see what gets impacted when we mess around with our shadow tones. So it kind of adds more color within the shadows, and then the same thing with our midtones. If we wanted to increase or decrease those color casts, we can do that. And then the same thing with the highlights as well, just to blend them in even much better. We can also preserve the exposure that is being affected, and then you can also blend the impact of what is going on within this specific node. In terms of the yellows and blues, kind of working somewhere with primary color wheels, but I'm not necessarily going to touch those. The film grain is our beautiful piece of the puzzle. If we add this on here, now we're starting to kind of get that film emulation. I love to stick with the 35mm on average, but there are many different profiles that you can select as well if you are trying to create a film look. So we can do 8mm right over here and kind of see how grungy the grain becomes, or we can come right back over to the 35, pick on that ISO 250, and then increase or decrease that amount. And then with the halation, as most halation does, it starts to mess around with the outer points of our highlights. So if we were to increase that halation, you can kind of see what's going on, and if we decrease it, you can see what's going on as well. Bloom is really nice because it's going to add a nice little soft glow. So if we kind of wanted to make this scene more like of a dreamy look, we could do so. In this situation, I don't really think it fits the scene that I'm trying to create, so I'm gonna disable that. We have the tools such as the film damage, and this, what's gonna go on is when you're playing through your film, you're gonna kind of see like the little stripes and lines, kind of like as if you were watching an actual old movie. So that's really nice that they have that in there. Same thing with the film breath, how much the film is shaking and breathing. Really small details, but this is what can really immerse your viewer if you are using this OFX plugin. Now, my favorite thing coming over here is the overscan. I think it is super cool that they decided to give us the ability to do Super 8 films, use a Super 35. The Ultra Panavision 65mm is probably one of my favorites. So for this scene, like, you can kind of already see how immersive we are. Like, there's something about this scene already that, like, when you're adding in that overscan, it's absolutely remarkable to look at. We can change those settings for widescreen. We have the Ultra 16mm, the Super 16mm, the standard 16mm, and then the classic Super 8mm. And me personally, huge fan of the Ultra Panavision, and you also have the ability to switch that from vertical to horizontal, and look at that. Oh my goodness, like, there's something about it, just super cool. For right now, I'm probably just going to, actually, let's just leave it on the Super 35. And beautiful vignetting. We love a good vignette. We'll disable this so you can actually kind of see what is being affected, but the exposure of the vignetting, and then we can also impact the size. We kind of got a James Bond vibe going on here. So we can do that and reset that vignetting as well. Here we can monitor our false color, small details for technical in terms of lighting, so we can kind of see how our skin tones are exposed, sitting within that 50 IRE range value. And now you can kind of already see like how using Dehancer can give you that film emulation right from the get-go. You can do this all within one specific node, and I just love how easy it was. All I had is 6 different nodes here. I didn't do anything insane. If we disable that, you can kind of see what's going on, but enabling that, we can change so many different things, and we're already sitting here with one beautiful film look. But this is not where it ends. We also have Dehancer Online, which is also another tool you can use to edit images as well. So let's hop right over to Dehancer Online so that way I can show you. So here we have a picture that I took of my friend, and I think the cool thing is you can give your digital images that print stock, as I stated before. So they have a bunch of different presets similar to what was actually showcased in the OFX plugin. In this situation, I chose the Fujifilm Insta-X digital intermediate film print, but you have the ability to go through and select all the different ones that you want. We have the black and white films, and then we also have some of the featured, and I'm assuming the featured are some of the most popular ones. We still have our Kodak Gold, we have our 250s, our Portras, our Eternas. Let's come back over to Fujifilm Insta-X, and then with the light, we have the ability to give it the preset of being extremely bright or the preset of being extremely dark. And then the same thing with the color. You can also select many different presets based off of what you are feeling, of the emotion of that specific image. In terms of the effects, it's kind of smaller, so you don't have that much to work with. You do have grain, bloom, halation, adding all these different things to your image to kind of enhance the experience. So a lot of bloom. I think the grain really does give you the old time look. You can kind of already see how this image looks like it was shot in like the 1960s. I don't know, like I really like this. Same thing with the vignetting. If we just enable that, we can mess with the vignetting exposure, and we can also drop that vignetting exposure as well. And then we can also feather that there too. And then once we are completely done, we can come over and export that image, post it to Instagram, post it to wherever you want to post, or even print it out and give it to somebody that you care about. So Dehancer really has a lot of different features that you can use, not only just for video, but they also have a lot of things that you can use for photo as well. And I think it's absolutely remarkable how they've been able to create such a sweet film emulation tool. If you're obviously interested in getting Dehancer, just use my code GLCreative to get 10% off. There are many different bundles that you can select from, and feel free to share with me some of the things that you guys make if you do purchase it. As always, subscribe to my Patreon if you want to get more information and resources such as these. And then the same thing, if you like short form content, feel free to go follow my Instagram and TikTok for more. And as always, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.